All right. I think we might be, we might actually be rocking and rolling this morning. Okay. I like that. Once. Okay. So we're gonna give it just a minute because I believe for once it's technology is being my friend this morning. So if you're out there, hashtag coffee break, we'd love to hear from you. And as I mentioned, we're just gonna give it just one more second to make sure everything is working. All right. I think we are good to go. And welcome. Welcome to this week's edition of the Construction CPA's Coffee Cafe. I am the Construction CPA, Lisa Raish. We are dropping the hammer on cash flow problems so you can build things that matter. This week's topic is how to conduct a financial checkup for your construction business. So you want to be looking at your finances regularly, but at various intervals, especially throughout the quarter, you do just want to kind of take a quick checkup as to what's going on in your business. So we're just going to talk about some high-level things that I recommend that you do on a regular basis, just to kind of check in and make sure that everything is operating at tip-top shape. So first, you want to scrutinize that profit and loss statement. You want to look at your revenues. If you have multiple revenue streams, what were your revenues for the last week, the last month, for the first part of the quarter? Are they in line with what you had expected that they would be? If they aren't, what's happened? Like, you're looking to see if there are any variances, any unexpected information or any unexpected things there that you can kind of get ahead of. Oh, I haven't hit the revenue number. I have. We're on target to do. You're not always expecting to find something wrong. You want to, the hope is that you're seeing what you expected. It's trending the way that you expected, but you want to do these checkups to ensure that you're on pace to do the revenues that you expected, that you are on pace to spend the way that you expected, and so on. So you want to really take a peek at that profit and loss statement. So you're also going to want to go through your expenses on there. You're going to want to, in construction, the big expenses are going to be, we're going to call them your cost of goods sold, right? It's going to be your materials, your labor. It's going to be the outside contractors that you're using on your projects. Are those in line with what you expected? Are they in line with the projects that you've been working on? Does it seem a little low? Does it seem a little high? Right? You're looking at those numbers because you're looking for the variances outside of what you're expecting them to be. You're also going to look at some of the other, we'll call them the high dollar, or the ones that construction businesses tend to spend a lot of money on outside of your materials, your labor, and your outside contractors. You're also going to have your internal headcount. So any other operational payroll that you may have, right? Does that look in line with what you expected? Are you renting an office? Rent and the cost of maintaining that office tend to be a number that is a little more expensive for most construction businesses. You've got an outside office, electricity, heat, internet in those offices. So is that in line with what you expected? You also just want to do a quick review over the balance of your expenses. In most cases, they aren't going to be huge needle movers, but you want to look for those abnormalities, those odd numbers. For example, if your office expense tends to be pretty low most months, or you have a pretty flat number month over month over month, and then the next, like 1 month, you see, oh, it's 3, 4, 5 times what you usually spend, that would be something you want to kind of dig into and see exactly what's going on. Again, you want to get ahead of anything, be aware of any expenses, any new expenses you may have, or again, the one-time expenses. But again, you want to look at your P&L, your profit and loss statement, look at your revenue and your expenses, just to ensure that it's in line with what it is that you are expecting to see. The next is you're going to review your outstanding invoices. We recommend that our clients review their outstanding AR, their outstanding receivables on a weekly basis, because when you do that, it gives you a chance to get ahead of someone who is behind and has not paid and is past due 10 days, is past due 20 days. It gives you a chance to get ahead of that and start to, do your collection. So if you're looking at your receivables at the least on a weekly basis, then you're not surprised when you see, oh, somebody, I've got a handful of people that are 10 days late or 20 days late. It's not a surprise. So you're going to review those outstanding invoices. Again, you want to do that at the least on a weekly basis and get ahead of it. You don't want to do it on a monthly basis. If you do that, then you're getting really far out month to month to month, where now you're 30 more days. If somebody's past due, it's 30 more days they're past due. So you really want to keep on top of your receivables. And again, it'll improve your cash flow if you keep on top of your receivables. You want to also look at your overall cash flow. You want to look at the dollars coming in and the dollars going out. So it's not just, oh, I have X dollars in the bank today. No, we want to look at what I have today. What do I think I'm going to have coming in the next week, the next 2 weeks? And then correspondingly, what is going to go out in the next week, 2 weeks? For example, most of the construction businesses we work with, they pay their internal team on a weekly basis. So you're going to have your weekly payroll that goes out. So you want to, again, you're looking just to see where it's kind of ebbing and flowing, and you're looking for those really, really deep valleys where now you may potentially get yourself into trouble. So you want to be looking at your cash flow in advance. Do you have receivables that you're expecting to come in? Do you have bills that you absolutely have to pay in the next week, the next 2 weeks? Are you going to have a cash flow shortage? Do you need to potentially dip into a line of credit that you may have in order to kind of float your cash flow for a week or two before that next kind of influx of cash comes in? So again, those are the things that you're looking at and you're projecting out, the next week, the next 2 weeks. So you're just doing a quick check-in, right? It's not, I just have X dollars in the bank. What do I think in the next, week, 2 weeks I'm going to have in the bank? Gives you a chance to get ahead of it, project the cash. It doesn't have to be an elaborate cash flow projection. Sometimes it's just a quick kind of back of the envelope type of thing. This is the dollar plus minus, this is the rough number. As I've mentioned before, doing these analyses don't have to be deep, laborious, time sucking for the owner experiences. These can be these quick little check-ins. And this is what this is meant to be. This is meant to be a quick check-in, kind of take the pulse of what's going on in your business. So you're going to look at your P&L, and then you're going to look at your cash. You're going to look at your invoicing, right? What do you have outstanding? And then you're going to look at your cash flow. Where do you think your cash is going to ebb and flow over the next week, 2 weeks, and so on? Again, you're just taking just a quick little, this quick pulse of the business. It's not a deep, deep dive. Let's just make sure that what I expected to happen is what is happening and what I think is going to happen in the next week or two. The next thing is you're going to want to just review your budget. You will have your budget for your operational costs that you're going to have on a monthly basis. So, are we in line with the budget? Are there any items that are out of line with the budget that we had expected? There are going to be things that pop up in your business. So new expenses pop up, things for you to spend money on. So there may need to be a revision to that budget. But again, are you basically in line with what you're expecting, right? So I used the example on the office expenses before. You have a budget for office expenses. If 1 month it's 4 or 5 times what you budgeted, you really want to take a look at it and see exactly what is going on. Was it a one-off item? Did somebody purchase something? Is it a one-off item that you aren't going to have again? Or even sometimes something simple. In our case, it could be something that's actually got classified in the wrong place and actually needs to move to, say, for instance, to an actual project instead of being an operational cost. So you want to review your budget on a regular basis. You want to revise your budget if the assumptions you made on that initial budget change. You don't want to be going back to that initial I did my budget at the beginning of the year, but there have actually been 3 revisions to it, but I didn't make any revisions. No, you really want to be making the revisions to your budget as you move along, especially if the assumptions that you made initially have changed. One of the big things about budgeting is we do tend to see the budgets that are done at the beginning of the year before some of the projects are won. So for instance, you may move throughout the year and start to win various projects, which will change some of the other budgeted figures that you have. And I'm not talking about budgeted project figures. I mean, operationally. So you may be taking on more projects throughout the year. You may need to add on additional operational costs. So you need to make revisions to that budget as you move throughout the year. And so that might be something that happens in your construction business. As you're adding more and more projects, as you're adding more projects all at the same time. So if you've gone from being typically 1 or 2 projects at a time, and now you're operating 4, 5, and 6 projects at a time, there may be additional items that you need to budget in order to execute all of those projects at the same time. So those are the kinds of things that you want to look at from a budget perspective in construction when you're looking at your budget to your actual over various periods, and therefore potentially making revisions to that budget. And so on a really high level, you're going to take, and this is going to be just a quick, this is going to be a quick pulse of your business. You're going to scrutinize that profit and loss statement. You're going to look at your revenues. Are you doing the revenues you anticipated? Your expenses, are they in line with what you expected? So let's scrutinize and look at that P&L. We don't just want to eyeball it. We want to take some time and really look through the line items. The next thing you're going to do is you are going to look through your outstanding AR. Who owes you? Who doesn't? Who's paying timely? Who's not? Who needs to be chased? It happens in AR. You have to do that. You have to do collections sometimes. So keep on top of that. You don't want that to get too far down the road. It's a lot easier to stay on top of it. If it's only 5 or 10 days past due, once you're 30, 40, 50 days past due, it gets really hard and becomes much more of a challenge to collect from people at that point. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to review your cash flow. What do you think you're going to spend in the next week or two? What do you think you're going to collect in the next week or two? Let's look at that number on a really, a high level. Where do I think it's going to be in a week, 2, 3, 4 weeks? And then the last is you're going to review your budget, because when you're thinking about where your cash is going to flow, your ebb and flow over the next couple of weeks, are you in line with what you budgeted? And if you aren't, then what in your budget needs to be changed? So those are some quick tips, some quick ways for you to do a check-in on your business. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to us, drop it in the chat. We would love to hear from you. As always, we look forward to seeing you here every Friday morning on the Construction CPA's Coffee Cafe. We look forward to seeing you next Friday, and have a great weekend.